Hey everyone, I'm Shah. In this video, I'll discuss AI essentials for entrepreneurs trying to build AI applications and solutions. I'll define what AI is, how LLMs work, and then share a two-level framework for building LLM applications.
So I've got about 20 minutes of content here, but here's an overview of what we're going to talk about. We'll first talk about what is AI and these three different types of software. Then we'll specifically talk about large language models, which is very much synonymous with AI these days, at least. And then I'll talk about these two levels of LLM development, these two ways we can get LLMs to do what we want. So let's start with the very basic question. What is AI? And I think one of the problems these days with AI is that it means different things to different people. Some people, to them, AI is equivalent to ChatGPT. Other people who maybe they've spent a bit more time in the field, they might say, oh, it's all about AI agents and agentic systems and things like that. And then, of course, there are people thinking of the worst case scenario where AI takes over and we have these killer robots and we're all enslaved to it. But let's just take a step back. AI stands for artificial intelligence, and one of these words is a bit more problematic than the other. So it's not artificial because this is simply something that's made by humans. However, the second word is a bit more problematic, and even among AI researchers, there isn't a consensus of what this word actually means. However, for entrepreneurs and the definition that I find helpful, I define intelligence as the ability to solve problems and make decisions. With this definition, artificial intelligence is simply a computer's ability to solve problems and make decisions. This is a pretty broad term, which gives rise to actually three different types of AI to kind of partition this pretty big idea. The first kind of AI we can call software 1.0, and this was the reality of AI for its first basically 50 years of development. AI started around the 1950s, and for most of the time, when people talked about AI, they meant these rule-based systems. Basically, where you have programmers using their intelligence to define step-by-step rules for solving a particular problem or making a particular decision. And then the programmers take those rules and program them into the computer, giving the computer step-by-step instructions for doing a particular task. However, as computers got more capable, a new kind of AI came into play, which we call machine learning. The key point with machine learning is instead of giving computers explicit instructions for doing things, you can program computers using examples, using data. So you don't necessarily need to know these step-by-step instructions for doing something. You can just give the computer a bunch of examples and it can figure it out on its own. However, now with large language models, we're seeing yet another kind of software where you don't have to come up with step-by-step instructions. You don't need to curate data. A lot of times you can just write a prompt and you can get a computer to do something. So a prompt can just be natural language, or you can even talk to the computer to get it to do what you want. And since most of the attention these days around AI goes toward large language models, let's focus on that for the remainder of this discussion. So a large language model is simply software that can perform arbitrary tasks via natural language. And if you've used ChatGPT before, then you're familiar with what a large language model is. You can throw a task at it like summarize this book, and it's going to come up with a summary. But then in the next moment, you can throw a image at ChatGPT and ask it, oh, what is in this image? And then it'll come up with a nice caption for you. And then in the next moment, we can throw this task at it where we give a customer review to a large language model and ask it what the sentiment is. So even though this one's a little tricky, it was everything I ever wanted. If what I wanted was disappointment, the model would be able to classify this as a negative sentiment review. We probably all use ChatGPT at this point, but maybe what's not super clear is how this is even possible, how ChatGPT works under the hood. And basically, you can think of it as very powerful autocomplete. So if you have some input like move fast and break, what an LLM fundamentally does is predict the next word in the sequence, basically predicts what should come next. So if we have this input, the most likely next thing might be things. But it doesn't just do this once like the autocomplete on your phone. It just keeps doing this over and over again. So it's autocomplete on repeat. If we pass move fast and break things back to the LLM, LLM, it might say is as the next thing, and then a, and then motto, and then that, and has been used in the tech industry, so on and so forth. And so basically, the LLMs learn how to do this by reading all the helpful data on the internet and then compresses that within its internal model weights. And then it turns out once you give one of these models enough data, they just become these general problem solvers that we see today. But of course, this isn't the only part of the process. The language model is then refined to follow instructions through a process called fine-tuning, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. Okay, so we all know what LLMs are. We've probably used them before, but how do we get these things to do what we want? How do we customize them to do specific tasks or to integrate them into some kind of product or software as a service? And so there are really just two ways that we can get LLMs to do what we want. The first level is adapting models using code and context. So these are things like prompt engineering, retrieval augmented generation, or RAG for short, and giving LLMs the ability to do things via tool use. But then there's a second level. Instead of just using the model as this black box, some component in a larger software system, we can actually adapt the model even further by doing some additional training, by actually changing the insides of how the model works. And so this is a process called fine-tuning, and then there's a specific kind of fine-tuning called distillation, which we're going to talk about a little later. For the remainder of this talk, we're just going to go through one by one and talk about each of these ideas under these two levels of LLM development. All right, so let's start with level one. Prompt engineering is probably what most people are familiar with when it comes to building with AI, or at least using AI tools. And the basic idea of prompt engineering is to craft LLM inputs to optimize task performance. Generally, there are some helpful tricks and tips that you can follow to improve an LLM's performance on a specific task by just making a couple of tweaks to your prompts. First tip is to use clear instructions. So if you want an LLM to summarize a paper for you, instead of writing a prompt like this, write something with more details. Instead of just saying summarize this paper, say your task is to act as an academic summarizer, condensing research papers into concise, clear, and accessible summaries, and then follow these guidelines. And then maybe you have like a whole list on the format and the types of information you want to be included in the summary. The importance of giving clear instructions is because if you don't, basically the LLM is going to make a best guess at what you want, and that just might be like the typical average thing that you see on the internet. So if you want it to perform better based on whatever better means for your specific use case, don't write prompts like this. Give more details and instructions so the model can align its response to that. A great pro tip here is instead of just writing prompts from scratch, use an LLM as your starting point for your prompts. Like if I wanted to use GPT-4o to do a specific task, it's a good idea to use GPT-4o to write the initial draft of your prompt. The second powerful tip is to give examples to the model. Here's like a trivial example, but if we wanted the model to do sentiment analysis, we can help it do a bit better on this task by giving it a few examples of what we want it to do before giving it the final task that we want it to do. Here we have various input-output pairs of, I love this new app design, positive sentiment, the service is okay, but it could be better, neutral, I'm extremely disappointed, negative. And then we'll give it a new example. And then this tends to have a significant improvement in performance on different tasks. I have some example code on this if anyone's interested. I'd be happy to share. The final tip is to use structured text. So consider the same task here of sentiment analysis, but one thing we can do to make it a little easier for the model to make sense of our prompt is to use structured text. One version of this is using like an XML tag where we have a start and end tag for each of our examples. And if we wanted to have additional instructions, we could put the instructions in these various tags. And so just like for us, reading this prompt is a little easier than reading this prompt. The same seems to be true for large language models. So using structured text can go a long way. And then as a final point, improving your prompt is often the highest leverage way you can improve your LLM system. Before you start chasing more sophisticated approaches and trying to fine tune a model, go as far as you can with prompt engineering. The second thing on the level one of LLM development is retrieval augmented generation, or RAG for short. And while this might seem like a long, scary word, it's a very simple idea. The basic idea of RAG is to automatically give LLMs context to perform specific tasks. So a very common way this is implemented is we'll start with some user query, like what is RAG? But instead of just passing this query directly to a large language model, we'll first have this retrieval step where we'll take that query and do some kind of search over a knowledge base or even over the internet. And then once we do that, we can craft the prompt using some prompt engineering where we incorporate the user's query with the context that we retrieved in this retrieval step. Then we can pass this prompt to a large language model, and then we can generate a response. The power of RAG is that although LLMs have a lot of global knowledge, they often lack specific knowledge to your specific industry or organization, or even just to you as an individual. And so this is where RAG can be very helpful. The main talk of 2025 is this idea of AI agents. And while there are a range of definitions of what an agent is, kind of a common thread throughout all of these definitions is basically an LLM system that can use tools to perform actions. And so we actually just saw an example of an LLM system using tools in the retrieval augmented generation example. Basically, we had a input come in, and then we had some code executing this retrieval step, getting the search results and passing the results to an LLM. So basically, we implemented this tool use using code. But what we're seeing now, as these LLMs have gotten more capable, is the rise of so-called agentic systems where the retrieval can be initiated by the LLM itself. So rather than us having some predefined workflow of query comes in, we do retrieval step, give results to LLM, we can just let the LLM know, hey, you have access to this retrieval tool. And every time you want to use it, just use these particular keywords. And then we can just monitor the LLM's outputs and execute these tool calls. Agentic is this word that's been used over the past year. And all this means is expressing this idea that AI systems can have multiple degrees of agency. Like agency isn't a binary thing, but rather something that lives on a spectrum. So we have like this whole range of agency from systems with no agency to human level agency. So like low agency would be like the managed tools we saw in the original RAG example. Then we can actually just let the LLM know that it has access to specific tools and let it pick when to use it on its own. But this could go even further where we just give the LLM access to a code interpreter, and it typically knows how to write code. And we just tell it, hey, you can come up with your own tools and you can decide when you want to run them all on your own. So you can see we can give more and more agency, offload more and more of the intelligence to the large language model. Okay, so let's go to level 2. So far, we've just talked about using LLMs off the shelf and adapting them to solve specific problems. So while what we've talked about so far is going to be like 90% of AI engineering today, there are some cases where more customization and refinement is necessary. And so this is what brings us to level 2. The first topic is fine-tuning, which involves adapting a model's behavior through additional training. So you can think of fine-tuning as the following process, where we have this pre-trained model, which is kind of like a blank slab of marble. Fine-tuning is the process of chiseling and refining this slab of marble into something more suitable for our specific use case. But often you don't just fine-tune a model one time, you can fine-tune a model multiple times to continuously refine it to a specific use case. And so this is exactly what OpenAI did when they created the initial version of ChatGPT. They had this pre-trained base model called GPT-3, and then they taught it to follow instructions through a supervised fine-tuning process, and then they further aligned it with human preferences through this technique called reinforcement learning with human feedback. And this is what resulted in their final model of Instruct GPT, which you can read more about in reference number 1. But basically, this was the precursor to ChatGPT and what ultimately led to this explosion of AI we're seeing today. The key benefit of fine-tuning is that fine-tuned models can often outperform bigger ones on specific tasks. So Instruct GPT is actually a great example of this, in which a model with just 1 billion parameters outperformed the base model GPT-3, which was over 100 times bigger as assessed by like human preferences. So humans significantly preferred Instruct GPT's responses to GPT-3. And then I'll just quickly go through like when you should and when you shouldn't fine tune, because this is a question that comes up a lot. So a few cases you shouldn't fine tune is before you've gone all the way with prompt engineering. Also, if you're trying to teach the model new information, new knowledge, often it's better to do this through retrieval augmented generation rather than trying to train the model. And then also you shouldn't fine tune before you've gone through the process of trying to gather some input output pairs for your specific task. But some situations where fine tuning may be helpful is if you want to give the model a unique personality, when you want to customize the response format, like maybe you want it to be in like a specific XML format, or you want to teach it a new programming language, when you're trying to get the model to do tasks that are easier to show rather than tell. Also, if you want to reduce the cost and latency of the LLM, you can often take a larger model and get similar performance out of a smaller one. And this is a perfect segue to model distillation, which is this idea of using a larger so-called teacher model to train a smaller student one. Basically, you'll have a teacher model and you'll use that teacher model to generate data, and then you'll use that data to train or even fine-tune a student model. And so this is exactly how OpenAI created GPT-4o Mini. They have GPT-4o, which is a pretty large model. They use it to generate data, and then they use that data to train GPT-4o Mini. I talked about a lot, so I just want to recap with 7 key terms. First is AI is a computer's ability to solve problems and make decisions. An LLM is software that can perform arbitrary tasks via natural language. Prompt engineering is crafting your prompts to optimize task performance. RAG is automatically giving LLMs context to complete specific requests. Agentic AI is an LLM system with some level of agency. Fine-tuning is adapting an LLM to a specific use case through additional training. And then a specific kind of fine-tuning is distillation, where we use a bigger model to train a smaller, cheaper one. I see we got some questions in the chat, and we'll do Q&A in a second, but just quickly wanted to call out the AI Builders Bootcamp, where I dive into all the different techniques we talked about here. So it's 6 live sessions over 6 weeks, bunch of example projects, weekly office hours with our TA, private community of builders. You'll get direct feedback from me on whatever you're building. We got bonus guest lectures from past course alumni. And then if you want to give a guest lecture for a future course, you can always do that as well. The course has gone through a few iterations now, but now we're really homing in on entrepreneurs as the main avatar and tailoring the course around them. So solo founders, tech consultants, and entrepreneurs. So the course is priced at $850 over 6 weeks, but as special promo, joining this lightning lesson, you can get 20% off with this early bird discount. This is going to run till May 26th. So if this is something that seems interesting to you or you think will be helpful, be sure to use the early 20 discount code. And with that, I'll thank you for your time and patience. I know we had some technical issues in the beginning, but happy to answer any questions you guys might have.